I love my parents. They are the best parents that you can find. Honestly, if I had to describe them in 4 words, I would say they are nurturing, loving, honest, and patient. They nurtured me in so many ways I couldn't even begin to tell you how much it meant to me. They showed me love so many times. They expressed love by appropriate hugs, kisses, and even verbal expressions of love. My parents were not afraid to say, "I love you." They were honest with me in moments that were not easy. They were also patient with me, even when I was the hardest person ever to be patient with. Now, to me, they are my superheroes. Were they perfect in everything that they did? No, but they modeled for me what it was like to have great parents. There's a phrase that says, the people closest to you can hurt you the most. And to some degree, I believe this. Like a random stranger and my parents could say the same phrase to me, but it would hurt way more coming from my parents. As awesome as my parents were, they are human. They've had a tendency to hurt me, disappoint me, and let me down. In other words, the same people that can help me are the same people that can hurt me. The same people that can help us feel like we're on top of a mountain are the same people that can make us feel like we're in a valley. That makes navigating relationships tricky. None of us like being hurt, and it seems like one moment of hurt has the ability to undo dozens of moments of joy in any given relationship. Your parents can be chill with you for like 3 weeks, but then one grumpy moment on a Monday morning undoes all of the good that came before it. Your friend can go a few months without making fun of you for that one thing that you're self-conscious about, but all it takes is one wisecrack and you're back to questioning your friendship with them. You can have your confidence built up by your coach for like half the season, and then in one moment of frustration, they can tear you back down to nothing. This is a weird thing to say out loud, but sometimes it just feels like hurt is stronger than joy. Like evil is stronger than good. Like what tears us down is stronger than what builds us up. So what do we do with this? Like, what do we do with the pain and the hurt? In the aftermath of these painful moments with people we're supposed to be able to trust, how do we navigate relationships in a way that honors God? Well, hopefully what we talk about today is going to help with just that. Let's go back to the book of John. If you were with us a couple weeks ago, then you might remember us saying that John was a disciple and an eyewitness to the things Jesus did. He writes his account of everything that happened from the perspective of a loved one by Jesus. John, in his book, calls himself the disciple whom Jesus loved. That means that he was close to Jesus. He was with Jesus, watching Jesus, learning how to be like Jesus. And since John had a close relationship with Jesus, he was able to learn a lot from Jesus about what healthy, close relationships look like, even in the midst of painful moments. So today we're in John chapter 4, verse 6. Jacob's well was there, and Jesus, tired as he was from the journey, sat down by the well. It was about noon. Verse 7, when a Samaritan woman came to draw water, Jesus said to her, "Will you give me a drink?" His disciples had gone into town to buy food. The Samaritan woman said to him, "You are a Jew and I'm a Samaritan woman. How can you ask me for a drink?" For Jews did not associate with Samaritans. Now let's stop right there. What you need to know is that in Jesus' day, Jews like Jesus and Samaritans did not hang out. Like they didn't go together. The reason Jews and Samaritans didn't hang out is because back in the day, there were 2 types of Jews. There were Jews who married someone from the race of people that had conquered them, and then there were Jews who did not marry that group. The Jews who did not marry those outsiders thought that those who did were dogs or half-breeds. This woman was a descendant of those half-breeds called Samaritans. On top of that, this was a woman. Now, in their day, women were treated so differently than today. Like, if you think that we haven't figured out today women's equality and our society's messed up, like it was so much worse back then. So this is who Jesus has decided to start a conversation with today, a Samaritan woman. Verse 10 says, Jesus answered her, "If you knew the gift of God and who it is that asks you for a drink, you would have asked him and he would have given you living water." Now let's skip down to verse 16. It says this, he told her, "Go, call your husband and come back." "I have no husband," she replied. Jesus said to her, "You are right when you say you have no husband. The fact is you have had 5 husbands, and the man that you're with right now is not your husband. What you have said is quite true. As they begin to talk about what Jesus calls living water, things get interesting. As Jesus begins to speak with her, it's clear that she has had past troubles with men. In fact, we learn that she has lived with several men, and the current one at the moment was not her husband either. We aren't told all of the reasons why those relationships didn't work out. We just know that they didn't work out. And when we know that, because of the societal norms of that culture, living with so many different men throughout the years would have been a significant source of hurt, pain, embarrassment, disappointment for this woman. And notice that Jesus, being a real friend in this moment to this woman, doesn't shy away from the conflict and pain. He doesn't gloss over it. He acknowledges the woman's mistakes and he does so to demonstrate something important to her that she starts to clue in on a little later in the conversation. Let's jump down now to verses 25 and 26. Verse 25, the woman said, "I know that Messiah, called Christ, is coming. When he comes, he will explain everything to us." Verse 26, then Jesus declared, "I, the one speaking to you, I am he." This is where the conversation makes a shift. Jesus acknowledges and honestly points out the relational difficulties this woman has been through, and then points her to himself as the source for answers on how to navigate life better. We didn't read it directly, but this woman was searching for answers to her pain. She'd been rejected by the Jewish people. She'd been rejected by men she loved. She'd been rejected by her own people. She knew what it was to be hurt by those she was supposed to be able to trust. And Jesus stepped into that and revealed himself as the answer she was looking for. She responds by risking rejection yet again to go and tell people in the town about this Jesus person. And here's what happens next, verses 39 through 41. Many of the Samaritans from that town believed in him because of the woman's testimony. "He told me everything I ever did." Verse 40. So when the Samaritans came to him, they urged him to stay with them, and he stayed 2 days. And because of his words, many more became believers. This woman's relationship with men had hurt her, but through her relationship with a man, Jesus, God was able to work through her life. So much so that it affected others around her, and others believed in Jesus as well. God has this way of working through pain. And there's so many examples of this principle played out in the scriptures, but what we know is on the other side of pain, that can be a significant, life-changing moment for us. Pain never feels good in the moment, but when Jesus gets involved, he takes our pain and can do something special with it. So, what are some of the pain points in your life right now? Maybe it's family, the things said and done between you and your parents or siblings. Maybe it's friendships where trust has been broken and you're not sure how to get it back. Maybe it's authority figures, coaches, and teachers who have torn you down when they're supposed to build you up. Now hear me out. I'm not saying the pain you're experiencing is all their fault. It's probably not. Much like this Samaritan woman, the flaws in those relationships are probably a result of both parties making mistakes to some degree. But in the aftermath of those moments of pain, we all still have to find a way to move forward. And I think this interaction between Jesus and the woman at the well suggests our best way forward is to invite Jesus into the pain and see what he does with it. It's quite possible the current pain is setting the stage for how God wants to work in us. God often works through what hurts us. Pain still hurts us, but maybe there's a purpose on the other side. And maybe you can experience healing and reconciliation in those important relationships as a result. So here's the point. God works through what hurts us. So this week, maybe try having an honest conversation with God and ask him to help you through the pain that you're facing. You don't have to go through it on your own, and the hardest part is letting someone else in. But oftentimes, it's well worth it because of the moment on the other side.